Now, as a prompt for our conversation on teaching in the 21st century, let's take this ground report by Abdusalam Jubril.
According to a popular proverb about teachers, a good teacher is like a candle. It consumes itself to light the way for others. This aptly captures the importance of the teaching profession. They are like the candle that guides others in the dark while consuming itself in the process. In today's world, information and communications technology (ICT) has defined every aspect of life, including education. Teaching now requires more than just a degree in education. A teacher must understand the use of ICT and communicate such to students. In Nigeria, the teaching profession is also moving with the times. It is not uncommon to find teachers and students in a classroom using digital devices such as tablets, apps, and computers. Some educators maintain that the use of ICT can change teacher and student roles, which can give teachers more time to focus on how to make the most impact through content interactions. Also, following persistent demand by the National Union of Teachers, teaching in Nigeria is now legally recognized as a profession, while NCE is now the minimum qualification to enter into the teaching profession. In addition, for a person in Nigeria to be a professional and registered teacher, he or she must be a member of the Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria. Over time, measures have been taken by government to improve the conditions of teachers and make the teaching profession enviable. These include improved salary scale, increase in retirement age from 60 to 65 years, and length of service from 35 to 40 years, as well as automatic admission and tuition-free schooling for children of teachers, among others. However, some experts insist that certain challenges exist in the teaching profession that includes delay in salaries, non-employment of teachers, infrastructure deficit, training and retraining of teachers, lack of teaching aids and equipment, among others. How can these challenges be surmounted? Can the teaching profession evolve beyond the current status quo? These, along with other issues, will form the crux of discussions as guests speak to the teaching profession and realities of the 21st century shortly.
Thank you very much, Abdusalam Jubril, for that background report. Now, here in the studios to discuss matters around the teaching profession in the 21st century, let's welcome Professor Josiah Ajiboye, who is the Registrar and Chief Executive of the Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria. Professor Ajiboye, we're glad to have you this morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigerians.
Also here with us in the studios is the Executive Secretary of the National Commission for Colleges of Education, Professor Paulinus Okwele. Professor Okwele, we're glad to have you this morning.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Nigerians.
And rest assured, we're talking about teachers. For sure, we should have a real teacher here. We have Comrade Stephen Nabai, who is the Chairman, Nigerian Union of Teachers, FCT Wing. You're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you. Good morning, viewers.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's begin, of course, with Professor Ajiboye, who is a regular guest on Good Morning Nigeria. We're celebrating the World Teachers' Day. What is the theme for this year's celebration, and what is the significance of the theme?
Thank you very much. Well, the theme for this year's World Teachers' Day is transforming education begins with the teacher. Actually, the teacher, is seen as the center of the fulcrum of transforming education globally. The whole world actually sat down together at the UN Summit just about 2 weeks ago. We were at the United Nations Summit on Education, which was tagged Transforming Education generally. And Nigeria was actually assigned the theme on teachers, teaching, and teaching profession, because of the noble role that Nigeria has played in transforming the teaching profession in the country. And the idea is to make the teacher to be at the center of transforming education initiatives, because there's no level of transformation that could be done. Yes, the argument is always there. You could provide the best of the classrooms, you could provide the best of facilities and everything, but if you don't have quality teachers, you may not get this desired result. In fact, do you know that if you have quality teachers, the teacher can bring the best out of the children even under a tree? Yes, look at those teachers who taught us in the past. You know, they will gather the children under the tree and all this kind of thing. And from there, you know, if you look at the background where some of us came from, the primary school that we attended, you know, look at where we were brought up from. And so the idea is the teacher actually forms the center, the focus of our transforming education initiatives. And that is why in Nigeria, for the past few years, since this government came on board, you will agree with me that our focus, especially that of the President and the Honorable Minister of Education, Malam Adamu Adamu, has one of the major pillars in his ministerial strategic plan is quality teachers. And we have been focusing on how to change the narratives that surrounds the area of teaching and teaching profession in our country. So it's very significant that today, it's not strange to us that today we are looking at the theme, the transforming education begins with the teacher. Because if you want to change anything, if you want to change the narrative of our education system, we need to focus on the teacher. The kind of training you provide for them, okay? What is the kind of training you provide for them? The kind of facilities, the kind of, like, you know, from this intro, you can hear talking about gadgets, talking about technology and other things like that. The kind of training you give this teacher both in service and pre-service. Okay, we have to check. My friend is concerned with the pre-service. We have to look at the quality of the training that these teachers actually went through when they are in their training institutions, and then when they are on the job, what kind of in-service training do we provide for them? Okay, and I'm sure we are going to get there, because with this government, by the grace of God, we have been able to do certain things which I will be able to mention later on in terms of training of teachers. The one we are on presently actually tallies with what was put there in the intro on you know, digital literacy and online learning for Nigerian teachers, which the Honorable Minister approved that 45,000 teachers should be trained on digital literacy and online learning in 24 states in Nigeria. That is the current one that we are on presently. So all these things actually make us to realize that, look, the teacher is at the center of all our discussion in when you are talking of education.
You say you want to talk about it later. Let's talk about it now, because we may not have the time. Talk about the things you talk about it later, talking about the training and how to transform the teacher really, and what the Teachers Council is doing about it.
Thank you very much. Because look, you know, the 21st century teacher that we are looking at as the theme of this discussion actually centers on the 21st century teacher that we are talking about. You know, is no longer the same thing as the old teacher who used to see himself as the sage on the stage. The role of the teacher has changed completely. The teacher is now seen as a facilitator of learning or a guide. Okay, he's no longer seen as that sage who will just stand and dish out instruction to the learners and things like that. No, things have changed. Technology has really changed the whole dynamics, or the classroom dynamics and everything. And so the teacher has to be on top of the situation. Okay, even the child you are trying to teach, you want to know about the history of rice. Let me use the example. You are teaching the children, you know, what is rice, and this child can easily pick a gadget and Google everything and get all the information and things like. And so you are the teacher. You now discover that, look, you are challenged. You have to be on top of the situation. So a 21st century teacher cannot afford not to be, you know, fast in the area of the use of these technologies. And that's why we are saying that, look, today a 21st century teacher must be technologically savvy. He must be the one that will be able to use technology to mediate teaching and learning in his classroom. It's no longer the one that we used to see at the center of the instruction, and he gives all the facts. These children you are teaching now, in fact, a majority of them are even better than us. That's the reality. Even our own children at home, you know, some of us, maybe we can use less than 10% of the facilities on our phone. These children will teach you so many things that you do not understand here. So we have to be very careful. And that is why the role of the teacher has changed dramatically. And so a 21st century teacher must be able to know how he's going to use some of this technology. We talk of this social media, WhatsApp, we talk of charts and other things like that. How can you use all these things to be able to teach your children? We are not saying that technology will replace teachers. No, no, that's not the argument. Technology will not replace teachers. But teachers who know how to use technology will replace those who do not know how to use it. That's the reality.
All right, Professor Ajiboye, thank you very much. Professor Paulinus Okwere, let's also have your take on this. Teaching in the 21st century. The 21st century is already 22 years old. And in a couple of months, it will get into the 23rd year. Are we coming to this a bit late?
No, not really. We are not coming into it late. We've been on it, but the recent development is what has highlighted this, the urge now, where it is like the public is, everybody is centering, putting attention on transforming the teacher for for a transformed educational system. You see, the experience from COVID-19 really exposed so many things, education-wise. You know, the technology we are in, maybe we didn't see the importance of them until COVID-19, especially when it came to classroom teaching and learning. So that is why when this year the theme being education transformation begins with a teacher, you cannot see that it's just to remind us that the teacher already have a role to play, and that role has to do with adaptability. Whatever be the situation, a teacher should be able to fit in very well. Teachers were able to use the technology to do delivery of lessons during the COVID era. And today we have a new normal, and we also have more advancement in technology. So a teacher is now reminded that you have more roles to play. You are to lead, you are to accommodate any kind of changes that come in the environment and the society. And then you find out that even if, as Prof said, even if the technologies are there or whatever, the teacher is there to do the driving. The teacher is there to take the lead. So you cannot do without the teacher. But when it comes to policy, the teacher is here. Come to design, the teacher is there. Implementation, the teacher is here. So the role of the teacher is so central that they should be given recognition from time to time. Like a day like this, that the world have said, UNESCO has said since 1994 that we should be celebrating teachers. We are proud here in this country that as a nation, as a government, teachers are well celebrated. And like today, many things will happen to commemorate the importance of teachers in the society.
Well, thank you so much, Professor Paulinus. Comrade Stephen Nabai, you heard what these two professors have said, and of course, we're looking at the situation of a teacher now being at the center of the show. He is no more the sage on the stage because of technology and changes in the generation and things like that. The technology is moving very fast, as my colleague rightly said. We're 22 years into the 21st century, so we're somewhat a little bit late, but not really late as such, because technologies too grow by the day. They didn't start at the beginning of the century.
Yes.
Some come much later, maybe 10 years after, 20 years, and so much more are going to come. The teachers are, those that will use the technology. And looking at the age of most of the teachers now, in especially primary and secondary schools, we hardly can find very youthful teachers. In the majority, mostly are just the older ones who may be retiring and moving on. And having to catch up, as the registrar said, is going to be a little bit of a difficulty, given the fact that the older people find it very difficult to catch, not as much as the younger ones would. And the students and the pupils are growing, and they are very young, very sharp in there. This is a big challenge to the teachers, having to catch up and then to move on with the pace of technology.
Well, thank you. By the training of a teacher, A teacher is trained and prepared to face challenges in the education system in several ways, including preparing a teacher on emerging issues. Some of these issues that we're talking about were not there before. But what is happening today, you're seeing clearly that a teacher has been able to put himself or herself together to cope with the situation to a large extent. Not only the use of technology, other ways of meeting up the challenges has been there. Technology has just come to help simplify the way of the teacher putting things across to the learning or learners in the system. So many things are coming to be in place, demanding for a change of a teacher to approach issues differently. And like I've been said, transformation, which is work with so many things happening right now, were not there before. The challenge of displacement that we are into now, insecurity that we are talking about now. What about the steps that have been taken through virtual learning and teaching now? All of these things have to put to place, but it is only technology that has come right now to help marry what is already in a teacher and to making the teacher's work simplified in order for the learner to getting what is prepared for him. The difference between what used to be and what it is now, like what is it, is the connection. The connection by a child. A child, the fact that he is going faster to learning possibly than a teacher. But the difference is still there. That his learning principles or what he's learning are not connected. Or it's not designed like what the teacher has already planned to impact in the child. A child can spend 2 hours learning so many things, but how to connect them to getting the product. It is not like that. That of the teacher is designed, is planned, and it is aimed at evaluating or producing or a work that is assessed for a result. That is the difference with that of a child. But actually, transformation is required now. And it has to start with a teacher. Outside a teacher, transformation we're talking about will be a difficult thing to be achieved.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Nabai. I think we need to also clarify something. When we say technology has come in now, maybe we should qualify and say digital technology.
Okay.
Because technology, by its simple definition, is the application of scientific findings.
Yes.
We've had technology over the millennia. Right. Technology has improved over the millennia. Nadabo, my colleague, and I, we are holding paper. There was never paper in the world. It came from papyrus. Right. It was technology that brought about paper. You and I, we are holding our respective pens, but pens were never always like this. When we were in primary school, you will start with a slate in primary 1. Yes. It was in primary 3 that you would now be using the pen holder. And then maybe primary 4, you'll be using the fountain pen. The fountain pen. You have to have that quick pattern, that quick, drop it in, and then you write, and then you splash it on yourself. That's right. But it was also technology that led to the invention of biro. Biro, which is the name of a Hungarian who invented the biro. That's right. And stopped all the spillages that you used to have from a pot of ink and so on and so forth. So you've seen technology move. Yeah. And then even books, if you recall, books were at the beginning, books were very expensive to print and to publish until low-priced edition books came about. Paperbacks, and then it was technology that brought that about. So we're talking about digital technology, really. But I think that one of the more serious issues to deal with, in my opinion, you're speaking here now, shall we say, at the national level. What is the anticipated permeation of this whole idea of the teacher needing to reform himself and be reformed by the system and by the government to be able to deliver interactive knowledge as a facilitator in the 21st century? I'm asking this question because education is not on the exclusive list.
It's on concurrent list.
It's on the concurrent list.
Yes.
Are state governments hearing what you are saying? Are local governments even hearing what you are saying?
Well, let me just say this. Yes, it's a big challenge. You have raised one very big issue. Yes, because when you are talking of transforming education and the role of the teacher, and then you are doing everything at the national, look at the approvals given by Mr. President. Look at all those approvals. We are, because education is on the concurrent list, we have to get the buy-in of the state governments to implement most of those things. At the federal level, we have started implementation of the 65 years. Since Mr. President signed, even before he signed it into law, in 2021, January 2021, we started implementation because the Federal Executive Council has already approved that we should go ahead. So we started implementation of the 65-40 years at the federal level in 2021. Okay, and also let me tell you that part of what as we started implementation as well is this bursary award for education students. Is going to go around all the universities anyway, whether it's a state university or anybody reading education in any Nigerian public university. The information has been sent to all the vice chancellors to compile the list, and also the form that they will apply, and all this, the platform where they will apply for the bursary support, and all these things have gone out to all public universities in Nigeria. Okay, so we are not disregarding both, but part of the problem, the challenges that we're having is the area of implementation at the state level. Whereas the federal government has started implementation of all these noble things to make sure, because the idea, Mr. President was guided by two major principles. One, how do we retain experienced teachers on the job? Two, how do we attract best brains to the teaching profession? Like you mentioned that so many teachers today, so many states are now recruiting, that what we have, they are old teachers on the job. And I want to say that, the children we are teaching, they are digital natives. Whereas we, the teachers, a majority of us are digital immigrants. We are digital immigrants. And so it's important for us to be able to catch up. And that's why your point was very, very clear. It's important that as teachers, we have to wake up to meet the digital natives. These children are not going to wait for us. It's we that we need to work harder to be able to catch up. And so we are working with the states. We had recently, we moved around all the states of the sixth geopolitical zone. We were able to hold meetings with all the commissioners for education and the chairman of SUBEB and post-primary schools boards and the Nigerian Union of Teachers and all other stakeholders to make sure that we get their buy-in on the implementation and make sure that they set up implementation committee for the presidential approval at the state level, and also the career path, the new career path that has been approved for Nigerian teachers for the implementation at the state level. So it is a
What response are you getting?
Well, I want to say that it's been very slow, but it's coming. It's been very, very slow, but it's coming. You will be surprised that some states have actually started inaugurating most of the states have inaugurated their committees on the implementation of these two major areas, the presidential approvals and also the new career path for Nigerian teachers. And I am glad to report that some states have even started implementation of this. About 2 states, I think Sokoto and Zamfara, have started the implementation of the 65 years for their teachers based on what the federal government is doing. So, you have raised a very fundamental issue. How do we get the states? Because these teachers that we are talking about, actually, the largest percentage of this, how many schools, federal schools do we have? Okay, we have unity schools, about 113 of them, I think, about 113 of them. Okay, but when these states are the largest employers of the teachers that we are talking about, and so it is important, it is imperative that the kind of drive that we are getting at the federal will have to be largely supported by the states, and this is where the crux of the matter is. And so we look forward with this kind of sensitization. We believe, and the meetings we are holding with them, when you meet with the commissioners of education and all these kind of other places, we are trying to push, and through UBEC as well, we are trying to push them, because UBEC has the teacher development department, a whole department on teacher development, and we are trying to push through UBEC as well to make sure that even if you want to benefit from any funding from the federal government, you must be able to show us some of the things that you are able to do with this. And make no mistake about this, when the COVID thing happened, you know, for them to be able to access some funding from UBEC on Safe School after COVID, they were given certain guidelines on how to be able to access the funding. And so these are the kind of things that we're trying to do at the federal level to get the states to get their buy-in and to get them to implement some of the things that we're doing. I agree with you. It's a big challenge. Education being on the concurrent list and getting the states to see the same reason with what the federal government, because the NUT at their last National Delegates Conference in Ibadan gave an award to Mr. President. Exactly. They gave an award to me because...
How many governors did they give awards?
Well, I think you gave award to...
No, Prof, it's a rhetorical question, actually.
Well, I mean, you know, but they gave an award to Mr. President, they gave an award to Education Minister because they believe that they have never had it so good. Yes. I can say it boldly. You know, with this present government, we have been able to do so many things to transform the life, the situation of the Nigerian teachers. And that's why they are also appreciating what Mr. President and the Honorable Minister has actually done. So what we are saying is that, yes, we don't want it to be restricted to the federal level. We want this thing to permeate to the nooks and crannies of the country. And that is why there is a need for our state governments to be able to, if a state government refuses to employ teachers. Look, we have been to some states where I raised it. A particular state organized education summit, and I was able to raise it at the level of their summit. I was reading their local governments, and I say in so local government, you have this school, 3 teachers there. I was able to tell them. And if you are talking of you want to improve the quality of education and you don't have teachers in your schools, then there's a big challenge here. There's a big gap.
When you raised it, what did they say?
Initially they never believed it because they never believed that I have my copy. They never believed that I have a copy. Yes, and I surrendered my own copy to them. I still have I kept a copy in my office, but I gave them I was able to get the list of all the schools in the state, both primary and secondary. And I was able to show them the number of teachers in each school. And so if you're able to confront them, you know, I always say that, yes, we start from the level of persuasion, then to the level of naming and shaming. Yes. But what we are doing now is persuasion.
Prof, you've raised some valid points here, especially talking about the buy-in of states. And of course, when we look at the bulk of the teachers and the teaching profession, the facility, they are the states and the local government level, and that's where the whole thing lies. At the federal level, we have very few of maybe the unity schools you mentioned, but getting the buy-in of the states, having to tie strings to certain certain benefits from the federal for the states to really pull and then get them is very important. Yes. Comrade Stephen, you can see why it has become necessary now for the NUT generally. I know the NUT president is not here, but that could have been a very good question to him. Yeah. These are areas where if strikes work in this country, if they can push forth demands and get results, this is why the NUT will come in. Talking about making the states buy into these policies through these kind of actions, whatever the action we may call, whatever name you give the action, that industrial or whatever. Yes. It's a good one. Yes. It's a thing that Nigerians really applaud. 2 years into the policy now, only few states have started implementing some aspects of them. Yeah. Some states are yet to pay salaries. Some states have not really recruited staff for the past 10 years or more. Yeah. I mean, teachers for the past 10 years or more. And what are we waiting for? What are we saying? Yeah. Has the President Green Biro really been just there and not effective? I mean, how do you feel about this? Don't you think
we feel actually so bad about the whole thing? But in the first place, we appreciate the President. Yeah. And that's why we started by giving him an award. Even today at the World Teachers' Day celebration is going to be mentioned again and again. And then calling for implementation of other areas of the scheme, because there are still some areas that are yet to be implemented. So we're going to make it a serious presentation today by the grace of God. The pace of the implementation is actually slow. And for NUT, we see no reason why the states and the local government should delay in the implementation of this. Our push, some of them have the fears and point out the issue of funding they complain about what about the place of the financing. They have pointed it out as a problem.
Are they looking for more finance from the federal government to do that?
That's how they see it. They say there's not additional financial cost. They also talk about how sure is that person's health status, whose number of years has been increased. So it has been full of telling them, no, it means good for the system. It is a brain that will not have to be used and thrown out. We believe that experience is the best teacher. And our experience goes so much in bringing new things into the system. But they are still filled with some questions that they claim they don't have answers to.
But for you, sorry, if I may cut you,
yes,
they were actually carried along because, look, after all these things were done, you know, the Honorable Minister mandated the then Permanent Secretary, Federal Minister of Education, and myself to meet with the state governments at the level of the national, what they call this National Establishment Council. Yes. They call it National Establishment, where all the heads of service of all the states were there, with the head of service of the civil service of the federation as the chairperson. And we presented this to them, and it was approved unanimously. So they were carried along, even while we are doing this. So that's why I normally tell the NUT and other groups, if you want to challenge them, go to the National Establishment Council meeting of December 2020, which was held in Lagos. Go and tell them.
Extra.
Yes, get the extract.
Professor Okwele, you want to say something?
In addition, I think the government, the federal government, is doing a lot to carry the states, is doing much to carry the states along. We also have the National Council of Education that comes annually. And every state is represented at least by the commissioners of education of those states. And issues, permanent secretary. So issues like this are being deliberated upon. It's time for them to air out their view and discuss the challenges they face in their respective states. And all these things government used to do them so that they carry everybody along and so that we all speak the same voice. Because either you're educated in a federal, in a unity school or a state school, education is one. Everybody has to still operate in the same, at the same equilibrium because the curriculum is the same, irrespective of where you attend the school.
I want to add something, Nadabo. Let me throw this in because you know we have a second topic.
Yeah, sure.
Let me bring this up in the context of teaching in the 21st century. We've been talking about the teacher, his welfare, conditions of service, engagement. That's fine. We'll probably have opportunity to return to this. But yesterday, at the State House here in Abuja, ICPC and other partners organized the 4th National Summit on diminishing corruption in the public sector, with a focus on corruption in the education sector. The president himself was there. One of the many instances of corruption in the education sector has to do with one, procurement fraud for equipment, non-availability of facilities that have been budgeted for and funds released. So you are saying digital migrants, teachers migrate them XYZ. How many schools have computers? How many schools have the requisite facilities to function in the 21st century? And why is it that those schools do not have those facilities? Why is it they do not have the equipment? You'll be talking about UBEC. The story about UBEC and Subeb is one that anybody that hears it, of course, will feel sad about. Yes. If you recall, for many years, even some states were reluctant to pay their matching grants. You say, put 1 million down, UBEC will give you 1 million. Now, even now that the states are paying 1 million and then UBEC is bringing 1 million, the ICPC has also uncovered instances where a state will put down 1 million naira, UBEC gives them 1 million, the state will go draw down on this 1 million, so you are now left with 1 million only to execute a job for which 2 million was originally designed. So while you're speaking as a teacher registration council and you are optimistic about what needs to be done and so on and so forth, how will you begin to address this? Just an area related to procurement, related to equipment, related to facilities. And the fact that at the subnational level,
Yes.
you are having underhand dealings in some cases with regard to the provisioning of these facilities that would accelerate the quality of teaching in the 21st century.
Well, you know, let me tell you, we have processes in this country. And there's what you call the Procurement Act of 2007 that was there. I'm very sure people who run far of the law will actually be dealt with. But what I can assure Nigerians is that, look, UBEC by its functions are actually provided some of these computers in the schools, including remote schools. You will be surprised that even some of the schools that all these facilities were provided, they were locked up. They were locked up in a room.
Who locked them up?
The school head and all these people who do not know what they want to do with it, they lock them up. Okay, it will be surprised. But I can assure Nigerians that actually some of these things are provided by UBEC to the schools. There is no school that is supposed not to have a computer lab. There is no school. But what we are saying is that, look, you know, there are other things that will make some of these things work. For example, even when you have the computers purchased and everything and you don't have electricity, the school will be challenged. Okay, when the school is not connected to the national grid, they don't have even facility to be able to power those computers. So we have a lot of challenges that are actually associated with this. But when it comes to procurement, these things are actually not done by the teachers in the first instance. The teachers are always there. Our own is to be able to use. You know, as teachers, we are waiting for you to buy. You know,
I think, comrade, I think Prof is missing the point I'm raising.
Exactly, and that's where I want to come in, sir. Okay. You see what you said, you are very correct, sir. We watch and read some of these things. That provisions are made on a paper. Evidence of money, funds released for some particular issues or things to be. I am from a school environment. I'm a teacher. As a chairman of Nigerian teachers in the FCT, I visit a lot of schools. What do we see? In many cases, some of these things you're only seeing on paper, but actually they are not on ground.
Not being supplied or supply sold?
Yes, supply and both. I mean, I'm talking about both cases. So at the federal level, we may not have so much issues because most of what you're saying, I see it at the federal level. What about the state and local level? So some of these things, you see, you need to go to schools, school environments. Some of these things are actually not there. Now, if they are there, teachers are ready to quickly go into learning how to use them. After all, many of the schools, like the schools in FCT in science, many teachers are already computer literate. They undertake training from time to time, preparing themselves for getting themselves ready for things like this to be in place. But I tell you that go around many schools, not only here, many places, it is not what. So, sir, from what you said, NUT respect and sees that pronouncement of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is already a law.
And so, there was a law that was signed, a bill signed.
It's a law. Yes. Secondly, NUT also believe that a due process to get into somewhere must be followed. But we frown at delay. We have not seen any reason why up to this moment implementation of the new policy has not been done. Those reasons they give us, we see them not good enough. They have not convinced us why delay should be in place now. Why would it be only, see, for Nigeria to develop educationally, we don't need to only stop it at the federal level. It needs to go down to the state. If it is developed at the state level, at the federal level, and it is not developed at the state and local level, it means that the circuit is not complete. So it should come. When you talk about stakeholders, some stakeholders are still feeling they were not part of it, or they are not even aware, probably because of some reasons I have already attached to them. So we need to do something fast to make sure that this scheme, this pronouncement, this incentive are carried along not only at the federal level.
What other people say is that if there is delay in the implementation at these subnational levels,
Yes.
does that really mean that the NUT must also delay its action and response to the inadequacies they
In
see
NUT, sir.
in whatever the situation is? Because sometimes these things are what really count, you know, for the teacher, for the student, for the people,
Yes.
for the parent, for the guardian, for the society. The president will not be happy to see the delay at these levels. He will also be happy to know that NUT is still dragging its feet on action to be taken on this. He will be very happy to hear that the NUT and some other organizations in the school that could do something are doing something about his own pronouncement and approval. That can be a topic for another day. We don't have much time. Prof, let's look at the curriculum, the challenges for the teachers now in the 21st century, and marrying this to what the president did 2 years ago to ensure that the teacher is truly and truly transformed into somebody who he used to be, the glory coming back to him and then being the person taking some position. The curriculum does not really or may not really reflect, okay, the changes that have taken place over these years. If it does, the teachers too may not really be coming, be up to date in that. And the training of the teachers is one other thing we should look at, given the fact that colleges of education are where these teachers are being incubated. And of course, when they come out, they should have this prerequisite knowledge of the current curriculum that matches with the demands of the 21st century. How is it at the moment? What changes have been brought in to tally with this development, especially championed by the president?
Okay, thank you very much. Curriculum is key to the educational process, because when designing your curriculum, it needs to take into cognition so many factors. Technology, we are talking about the digital technology and other things. Now, the way curriculum is designed for the training of teachers, for example, let me take the NCE, where we raise teachers for the basic education level at NCE. And once there is a new subject which is introduced, we look at the curriculum together with NEDRC and other stakeholders. So once we observe that new subjects have been introduced or new concepts have been introduced to be learned in school system, we also have a way of accommodating that in the teaching, in the training of teachers. We also have a way of patterning the curriculum for pre-teachers training, so that they will be able to match with what the children, the pupils they will teach at that level is expected to gain. So now curriculum is not also done every day. It's not also changed every now and then. But there are ways that you can always accommodate this. And that is why even when you finish training teachers, there is also in-service, which has a kind of a short-term arrangements where you can now use what currently is the society, what currently the society has embraced on. So you quickly use a kind of in-service training to bridge the gap. Not necessarily changing the curriculum immediately, because it takes time. You can't just change curriculum every year. But as changes come, there are ways of also accommodating that in the training of the teachers, either at the pre-level or at the in-service level. But as it stands today, the digital technology that have changed everything, teachers, both in the training at the pre-level, the pre-service level and in-service level, a lot is being done to accommodate the training such that the teachers will be able to match what the society really needs at this point in time. Like the registrar talked about it. Because if you do not give the teachers a kind of upskilling, retooling, then it then means that at the end of the day, that the students will know more than the teachers, or the pupils will know more than the teachers. Yeah. But there are a lot of measures that are put in place.
All right. Professor Ajiboye, let's get your closing thoughts, and very briefly. How do you factor in the rural-urban dichotomy in the ICT age, particularly for us in Nigeria?
Well, thank you very much. Yes, I think we are all on the same page, looking forward to that teacher that will be able to transform our education system and making the teacher to be at the center of the transformation of education in our country. Yes, the lessons learned from post-COVID is that, look, you cannot rely on both online materials alone for the teachers and the learners, that some of these materials will have to be put also in hard copies and to be put offline mode. And that's part of the thing that we are trying to do. Most of the things that we have developed online, technologies that have been put for the teachers to be able to teach online and other things like that. We have also been able to develop the offline mode part of it, so that the teachers will be able to, the teachers in the rural areas. Yes, because it's a big challenge. What you raise is a big challenge. If you look at Nigeria, 62% of the citizenry actually have access to the internet. 62% of Nigerians, of the population, have access to the internet. And this 62%, if you look at it, more than 90% of them are located in the urban areas. So we recognize that there is a digital gap, a divide between what is happening in the urban areas and the rural areas. And that's why most of the things that we are apps that we have developed them both, that they can be used both online and offline, so that our teachers in the rural areas will be able to access some of these. Yes, we have developed two major platforms at the national level, Federal Ministry of Education level, what you call Inspire. Inspire is for the learners, and then the other platform that was developed is for the teachers. These two platforms, we have been able to put them both online and offline mode, so that our learners and teachers in the rural areas will be able to access them. That's the kind of thing that we have learned from COVID-19, because we discovered that, look, we cannot just rely on the online and the use of internet and other things like that, because when you get to the rural areas, you may not be able to access them. So it's a big thing. We have recognized that at the level of the Federal Ministry of Education, and that's why most of our activities, when we do training for teachers, we do some of these trainings, we provide both the online platform of it and the offline platform of it, so that they can be able to access some of this material. It's a big challenge. Yes, we recognize that, because even if you are talking of 21st century teaching, everything cannot go online. Not everything can go online, especially when you are talking of a country like ours. And that's why it's not only in Nigeria, yes, the whole of Africa. The whole of Africa is still a big challenge. When COVID came, whereas the rest of the world was able to carry on in their classrooms, they gave even the children tabs and other things. We were not able to do that in the continent, and it was a big challenge, especially when we look at. So what we are trying to do in Nigeria is to be able to make sure that we make our teachers to both, they'll be able to handle both online and offline fashion of it, and be able to help our learners. But believe you me, the focus of this year's theme, which makes the teacher to be at the center of the transformation, is a big thing. It's a big joy to us as teachers, because we now know that, look, various interventions that will come, budgetary intervention that will come from government, both at the federal and the state level, will now begin to prioritize the issue of the teachers. Because that is the critical thing. How do we prioritize the welfare of the teachers? How do we prioritize the training of the teachers to make sure, because the quality of education of any nation is determined by the quality of the teachers. Yes. And that is the reality. That is the reality. And that is what we want our governments to get. And that is what the theme of this year.
I hope in chasing this, because sometimes we tend to be unidirectional in our country. We're saying that put the teacher at the center of transforming education. It is not just a teacher as a teacher, but also his job environment. Because that job environment will include the kind of structures you have.
The totality of what
if the roof is leaking and in rainy season, you can't function. The job environment will also include the facilities that you have to work.
Of what will make
precisely.
Yes.
If you are saying teaching, now the next thing will just be, say teacher, give them 100,000 per month. And then, but we'll give you 100,000.
Well, let
Why?
them give us
But
now.
why are you still complaining?
Let them give us now. First, start with that 100,000 you mentioned. Let them give us that one.
That would be a great one.
That's right.
No, that would be a better way of starting. You know.
But they have to be qualified to earn 100,000.
No, definitely. Then, you know, we are talking of qualified teachers.
Yes.
It's not only to be a graduate of any institute, but even you must be a registered, certified, and licensed teacher.
In addition to that, we are not saying that there are no other areas that has to do with this transformation, but it has to start with a teacher.
That's why we started from here, and that's what the prof started with. Once the
But
teacher
even
is,
if we want to argue, I mean, Nana, I'm sorry to interject. Look, was it not always the case that the teacher was at the center of learning?
Let me tell you the truth.
No.
A majority is about the philosophy of some of those who are leading. Let me tell you the truth. Some people believe just build infrastructure. You will see we have alluded to it here. Some states go there, they have beautiful classrooms and they have not employed teachers.
Those are
Yes,
contracts.
that's what we are saying. So, but now we are now trying to change the to say that let us put the teacher at the center of that development and transformation focus.
Yeah.
and let us also make the states and the
local governments to see
understand
really
the fact that it is the teacher and not the structure, not the ones by the roadside as you're passing. You
Do you
see
know what my
story
people?
buildings
You know
and
what
there are
my
no
people?
in
My
them,
people
really.
said the child you fail to train. We sell the house that you have. Yes, we said
Oh, yeah,
so. If you build
saying.
beautiful houses, classrooms, and everything, and you do not have quality teachers, believe you me, you will not be able to achieve it. So that's why the theme for this year is saying that yes, let us reiterate ourselves. It's not enough of yes, we have been doing this infrastructure for school development, for this, for that. Let us focus this year on our teachers and let us see how we are going to reposition. Look, the education system of these developed countries are driven by the teachers. Go to Finland, which is the highest achieving country in terms of education. It's the quality of their teachers.
Yes.
Go to Finland, go to all these other developed countries. Okay? So the teacher...
But the philosophy of education in those countries also matters. The philosophy.
Yes.
Is the philosophy.
Do you know we have philosophy of education in Nigeria?
We do.
We have the policy, we have everything. But where we are saying is that in the area of implementation, as we are focusing on all those other glamorous areas, please let us not neglect the one that will drive the whole thing, and that is the teacher.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Josiah. Of course, you have the Teachers' Days today.
Yes.
At least there is an event any moment from now.
Oh, yes, we are
better
moving.
we'll let you go so that we now continue
Thank
and so
you
they can
very
catch up with that
Well,
too. Thank you. You want to say something?
Yes,
Can
I
you do
want
that in 30 seconds?
Yes, I can do that.
Please.
States, local government, they should also employ teachers. A lot of teachers are being produced, not employed, especially the NCE teachers, because the minimum teaching qualification in the national policy is this NCE. But so many of these teachers are not being employed. Many of these are produced. So the state should just carry on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
NC used to be level 7 in those days. Is it still level 7? Or
Yeah, but it's 7, but the government is thinking of
with the approval of the president, they will now be starting on 8.
on 8.
8. That's another
Why
step
BSc
to
would not
forward.
start on
That's a
9.
good one.
Degree holders will be starting on 9.
nine.
The teachers
Yes.
have everything going
They
for
have
them.
everything
That's just
going
not to worry
for them.
You
about.
want the public to understand.
President.
Yes. You want the public to understand that the government is doing a lot.
It's all right.
to
Thank
make
you
the
so
teaching
much,
profession
gentlemen.
Well,
Professor
we can
Josiah.
go, but it's curious that Sokoto and Zamfara are the ones that have killed infants before other states.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
It's just a point of curiosity, but that's for another day. For us to another yes.
Thank you.
I hope the remaining states follow suit and then we move on. Thank you so much, Josiah. Of course, Josiah is a registrar, Chief Executive Officer, Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria. Professor Paulinus Chijoke Okwale, Executive Secretary, National Commission for Colleges of Education. It's our pleasure too.
Thank you.
And same also gratitude goes to our comrade here. We hope you sit up and then follow up this president's approval and then see what you can get out of it. It's our pleasure, Stephen Nabai, Chairman, Nigerian Union of Teachers, NUT FC2N. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.
We'll take a break down, and then after the break, we come back and continue with our second topic of the day. That's talking about the flood in Lokoja. Stay with us.